Baylor had two stud freshmen, had two that came in with a ton of hype in Miro Little, who's going to be a really good player for this team. And both those guys are projected to go in the first round of the NBA draft, maybe even both in the lottery. And as of just the last few games, have taken different trajectories, I guess is a way to say it. Although I don't think it's a long-term slump for one of them. But we're going to talk about Jacoby Walter. We're going to talk about Yves Missi and how these guys have graded out halfway through their first conference season. I think that game Saturday was exactly the halfway point in terms of Big 12 games for them. So, and that starts with the news of just announced yesterday, Big 12 newcomer of the week. No surprise, Yves Missi. And boy, has he been fantastic for this team this year. The 7-foot freshman out of Cameroon via prolific prep in California and a top high school program in New York before that. I mean, I have just been so impressed by Yves Missi and how much his game is rounded out since he's been here. Since the competition has gotten better, he has tweaked things and gotten them much better. I remember John Rothstein put out a tweet just before the season started that said, I'm hearing something along the lines of, I'm hearing the big surprise out of Waco is this freshman Yves Missi. And I'm like, well, he came in with some hype. So if it's a surprise, maybe that's not a good thing, because I'm thinking, he's really hyped up, but he's a raw guy. I just don't know if he's going to really put it all together year one. And maybe he hasn't put it all together, but he's put darn near everything together year one. And John Rothstein was right about it being a pleasant surprise that he heard from his sources down here in Waco. He is, though. He's still learning, and he is learning on the fly better than almost any freshman big man I've ever seen. Like, this is just what they are. They come in, they're young and they're raw. In fact, he's really young. He should only be a senior in high school, but you look at his numbers and they're pretty darn good. And you look at the per 40 minutes, he's averaging a double-double per 40 minutes, 19 and 10 on 56% shooting. You'll take that any day of the week. And he's been excellent in the pick and roll on both sides of the ball. I mean, both ends of the court, he's been fantastic. And you see him, how much he can impact a game without even touching the ball. Like, we don't say that about the center position anymore. It's not like it was even 15 years ago or 10 years ago. Like, this kid is altering shots in the paint and really helping. He's been a huge help in terms of the strides Baylor has made defensively. In fact, Ray J. Dennis talked about this in his media availability yesterday, just how much Yves Missi helps them on both ends of the court.
I mean, his athleticism is one thing. It speaks for itself, right? But, he's the anchor on our defense. We try to play best defense as possible, but as a guard, if you make a mistake, it feels good knowing that you got Yves behind you who can clean up some of those shots and easy to load. So, that's huge for him, and it's rightfully so, rightfully deserved.
And, yeah, he makes a great point, because we look at him offensively because that's what most of us casual fans turn to. But defensively, he's such a menace. And again, it's not just blocking shots, which he does better than almost anyone in the conference. He's second in the Big 12 in blocks, but it's also those altering those shots. When guys do get past a guard, like a Ray J. Dennis he talked about there, or Langston Love when he's out there, or Jaden Nunn, you're running into a brick wall. And we've seen teams try to isolate on him and try to get him out on an island and clear out some space. And you can't really back him down either. That's the other thing. He's strong as an ox, man. He's really, and he did a great job Saturday against Hunter Dickinson. Yves Missi outplayed Hunter Dickinson in that game on Saturday. Did his team win the game? No, which is what ultimately matters at the end of the day. But Hunter Dickinson had 13 points in a flash in the first half and finished with just 15. And Yves goes for, what was it, 20? I think it was 21 and 7. He was awesome in that game and outplayed what a lot of people think is the best center in America. It's between him and Zach Edey, and he was right there with him. And you talk about the offensive side, of course, that is the fun part to watch, how he has rolled with the pick and roll offensively, the dunks that he throws out there. But it's honestly what you don't see that is probably most impressive, and it's what Scott Drew talked about when he was congratulating Yves on becoming the Big 12 newcomer of the week, as Ray J. Dennis did.
Yeah, I think he's just feeling more comfortable being aggressive and being more assertive, making more plays. Earlier in the year, a little more passive. The other thing is, the more our guys get used to playing with him, the more they expect from him, the more they look to him. So he's done a good job really being efficient offensively and taking care of the basketball. A lot of times freshman bigs can have a turnover problem, just getting used to the spacing and physicality and defenses putting two on the ball and whatnot. But Yves really done a great job, and the team's done a good job finding him.
I think that's a key part of how good he is offensively, is that he's not getting rid of the ball. He's not throwing the ball all over the place, which has been a problem for this Baylor team, especially on Saturday. It was a big problem. Like, he goes up strong. He doesn't get stripped. He's not throwing out lazy passes for kick out threes. He's not doing that. He's taking care of the basketball. And like, that's the first step. That's what a lot of freshmen, especially freshman big men, can really struggle with. And Coach Drew talked about it there, of, adjusting to a physical game or adjusting to help defense and double teams every night. Like, he has been so efficient out of that. So efficient. And it's like he hasn't even missed a beat. He's coming into the top conference in America as a barely 18-year-old, and he's dominating it. In fact, I'm looking at his advanced stats, and per 100 possessions, his offensive rating is 130. So when he's on the court, for every one of Baylor's 100 possessions, they're going to score 130 points. And his defensive rating is 99. He is plus 31 net rating when he's on the court. That's incredible for a raw freshman center. That's insane. And again, he's second in the league in blocks. He is second in total rebound percentage and first in offensive rebounding percentage. And to go off Coach Drew's point, he is second in the Big 12 in player efficiency rating. It's just mind-boggling, man. And I've got lists out here on Twitter that's saying he's not even as good as Johnny Furphy. Miss me with that. And any team that ain't picking Yves Missi in the lottery, you're missing out. He's going to make some team that's ready to contend very happy if that's the case. Because this kid's for real, and he plays an NBA game. I've talked about this before. He doesn't have the three-point shot. Although with the way he's improved on everything else, I wouldn't be surprised if he adds that to his repertoire early in his NBA career. But when you're talking about big men in the NBA, he can put the ball on the floor. He's athletic as holy heck, and he can run the pick and roll and defend the pick and roll. Heck, when he's dunking, man, he's trying to lower his head so he's not hitting it on the rim. This kid is an absolute freak in the best way possible, and we are so lucky to have him. A+++. He has been tremendous. And I can't wait to see what he does for this team the rest of the year, because talk about a blessing that we have had, that he has not only come to Baylor, because it didn't look that way. He was big into UT as well, but I think he wanted to play for Chris Beard, and then UT drops out of the race. It was basically between Baylor and Texas, and he reclassifies and comes to Baylor. He has been, such a blessing for this team, and I can't wait to see how much more his game grows, even till and through the end of the season here.